What's up, everybody? We're back. It's time for first chapter of Return of the King, aptly titled Minas Tirith. This is the chapter where Pippin and Gandalf arrive in the White City. Last time people received this pretty well, as I did like a read through and just sort of talked about things as I read through the chapter as opposed to reading through, taking notes, and then going over the notes. So we're just going to continue this moving forward. There will be some cuts throughout here because there will be dead space where I'm reading paragraphs and I don't have anything to say until I get to a point. So I'm going to be cutting out the dead space and going from there. If this is your first time tuning in, Mondays in Middle Earth has been going on for months now as I read through The Hobbit, The Fellowship of the Ring, The Two Towers. Now we're doing the Return of the King, and then after this, I'll be doing the Silmarillion. If the show is still well received after that point, we might get into the histories of Middle Earth and everything else. Because this channel is slowly growing its population, and there's quite a few people who enjoy this show, so I'm happy to be here and entertain with everybody. So if you like things, please like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon to let me know that you want me to do more of these. And if you can, as always, support the channel with a super thanks. It's really easy. Just click that button down there or join as a member of the Adventurers Guild through 3 different memberships. And don't forget to tune in every Monday at 11 a.m. as we do this. We may change the schedule slightly. We may start airing these at like 9 a.m. or 10 a.m. But for the meantime, 11 a.m. is moving forward. I'm looking at things with Chris to discuss starting, as of this recording, doing like streaming from 11 a.m. to 5 p.m. In which case, the I may move these up a couple hours, but it'll always be on Monday, so stay tuned. So we're getting this recounting of the journey from Pippin. And it says that basically his memory was drowsy and uncertain, and he tried to reckon the times and stages of their journey. But just basically ride until they need to sleep, ride again until they need to sleep, ride again until they need to sleep, so on and so forth. So he says this is the third night since he had looked in the stone. And with that hideous memory, he woke fully terrified. Oh no. Ooh. So here the beacons of Gondor are alit, calling for aid. War is kindled. There's the fire on Amundin and the flame on Ielnak. And there they go speeding west. Nardol, Erlas, Minrimon, Calenhad, and the Halifirian on the borders of Rohan. So I don't remember this at all. The beacons had already been lit when Gandalf was riding to Minas Tirith. Because in the films, they go through the whole thing of him and Pippin light the beacons because Denethor wouldn't call for aid. I do not remember this, but again, it's been 20 years since I've read this book, so. Oh, here's a nice lore tidbit. Gandalf says it's been long since the beacons of the north were lit, and in the ancient days of Gondor they were not needed, for they had the 7 stones. It's a good callback to when they had all the Palantir. So they've arrived, and they don't want to let Gandalf in because of Pippin. We know you, Mithrandir, and you know the passwords of the 7 gates and are free to go, but we do not know your companion. Who is he? I said, I will vouch for him before the seat of Denethor. His name is Peregrine, a very valiant man. I love this response. Man, said Ingol dubiously, and the others laughed. Man, cried Pippin, now thoroughly roused. I am not a man. Gandalf says, the only reason that you guys think that I only come when there's grief and danger is because I come seldom but when my help is needed. So the rest of the time you guys are capable of doing things on your own, but when you can't, that's where I am. That's when you know things are dire, when I've shown up at your doorstep. So we see this description here of the wide land beyond the Remes Ekor. Tolkien's obsession with detail and space is very evident here because it talks how many leagues, how many terraces, the walls were this many leagues distant, so on and so forth. A guarded gate. So this is him looking at things from a military eye of, sizes and distances and what could be fortified and etc. I'm actually don't know these words. He said homesteads there were with Oast and Garner, Fold and Byre. 4 descriptors that I know nothing about. old language that I don't know those words. It's talking about Belfalas, where Prince Imrahil in his castle of Dol Amroth by the sea was dwelt. I actually just played through that content in Lord of the Rings Online like a month ago, so this is actually really relevant. My character actually got to Osgiliath. It's been about a month. I haven't played a lot in the last month because I've only been doing the Lotro Tourism series, but my character got to Osgiliath and right now is looking for Faramir. This is really cool, the description. Even as Pippin gazed in wonder, the walls passed from looming gray to white, blushing faintly in the dawn, and suddenly the sun climbed over the eastern shadow and sent forth a shaft that smote the fate of the city. Then he cried aloud, for the tower of Ecthelion, standing high within the topmost wall, shone out against the sky, glimmering like a spike of pearl and silver, tall and fair and shapely, and its pinnacle glittered as if it were wrought of crystals, and the white banners broke and fluttered from the battlements in the morning breeze, and high and far he heard a clear ringing as of silver trumpets. That's a really cool description of the White City. Master of language indeed. Ooh, dire words. Gandalf shouts, "Let me pass! I must come to your Lord Denethor while his stewardship lasts. Whatever betide, you have come to the end of Gondor that you have known. Let me pass!" The description here is talking about how the city is basically already falling into decay despite the great men and kindreds that once dwelt here. No footsteps, no voices, nor any face looking out from empty windows. It's unpopulated, just slowly suffering a long decay in the shadow of Mordor. Okay, this right here, I need to put this in my notes. We're gonna do that right now, live, not live, but during this. We are in the chapter. We are Return of the King, chapter 1. Description of the guards of the gate with helms wrought of mithril, heirlooms from the glory of old days. Livery of the heirs of Elendil, and none wore it now in all Gondor save the guards of the citadel. So this is harkening back to, at least in the established lore, the men of Numenor could also mined mithril in on the island of Numenor. It wasn't only in the Misty Mountains. And it says these are heirlooms from the days of old, from the men of Numenor, not from Misty Mountains. The stupid retcon from Rings of Power. None wore this in all of Gondor save the guards of the citadel before the court of the fountain where the white tree once had grown. Ooh, this is when Gandalf tells Peregrine to Pippin, "Be careful of your words. This is no time for hobbit pertness." Theoden's a grumpy old fart, but he's not stupid. Yeah. Yeah, he's gonna want to know all sorts about stuff about Boromir. So just, yeah, he knows he can't get stuff out of me, so he'll be trying to get it from you. And say nothing about Frodo or Aragorn unless you miss. And Pippin's like, why? Why shouldn't I mention? Why should I mention Strider? He was supposed to come here, wasn't he? Like, I don't understand. And Gandalf says maybe, but if he comes, it's gonna be in a way that no one expects. And I think that Denethor is not gonna be happy when that happens. Oh, this is when Gandalf says, "Do as I bid." It's scarcely wise when bringing the news of the death of his heir to a mighty lord to speak overmuch of the coming of one who will, if he comes, claim his kingship. Is that enough? Kingship, says Pippin, amazed. He has no clue that Strider is the king. He says, Gandalf says, "If you have walked all these days with closed ears and mind asleep, wake up now." Oh, that's awesome. Great description of the throne room here. Ooh, this is when Pippin, in payment of Boromir's sacrifice, he offers to serve the king. Oh, this is interesting. So, this scene where Denethor is questioning Gandalf and talking about things that need to be heeded, and he's like, "I didn't come here with just one warrior. I've broken, Saruman's overthrown, Isengard is overthrown, Theoden's men has fought a great battle. Is it not to you?" And he says, "It's much to be, but I know enough about these for my own counsel." And this is the interesting description. It says, "He turned his dark eyes on Gandalf, and Pippin saw a likeness between the two, and he felt the strain between them, almost as if he saw a line of smoldering fire drawn eye to eye that might suddenly burst into flame." Hmm. Yet he sensed that Gandalf had the greater power and the deeper wisdom and a majesty that was veiled, and he was old, far older. How much older, he wondered. And then he thought it odd that it was never something that had been thought about before. Oh, this is a man. They're like trading insults here. Um, there's this hour where they're just questions, questions, questions being answered against Pippin, and then he insults that Lord Denethor says, "To you, my lord, Mithrandir shall come to as and when you will. None shall hinder your coming to me any time, save only my brief hours of sleep. Let your wrath as an old man's folly run off, and then return to my comfort." Folly! Nay, my lord, when you are a dotard you will die. You can even use your grief as a cloak. Do you think that I do not understand your purpose in questioning for an hour one who knows the least, while I sit by? If you understand it, then be content, returned Denethor. They do not like each other. Oh, this is great. So Gandalf says he wishes to find Faramir. I don't think he's in the city, but I haven't had time to gather news. Baragon, son of Baranor, who is going to be Pippin's guide, I guess? Okay, so they're going to check on Shadowfax, and then Baragon is taking him around the city. Now for our manager. Or now for our manager, sorry, and now for our manger. I read that wrong. The storehouse and buttery of my company of the god. Greetings, Targon, he called through the hatch. A newcomer that the Lord has taken into service. They got their bread and butter and cheese and apples. That sounds delicious. Ate and drank and talked of Gondor and its customs and the Shire and the strange countries that Pippin had seen. I love this part where he says, Master Peregrine, I will not hide that you look as one of our own children, like you might only have 9 years of age, and you have endured perils and seen marvels that few of our graybeards could boast of. That's freaking awesome. He says, well, I'm still a boy among my own people. Don't worry about it. More distance, leagues, and stuff written down. Pippin is looking out over all of Pelennor, into the distance with the farmsteads. We dwell ever in Mordor. Shadow, though we seldom name it. Fell riders, less than a year ago, they won back the crossing, and many of our best men were slain. Boromir himself drove them back from the western shore. It is but the deep breath before the plunge. There's a lot of dialogue here that was used in the film. Beargorn is telling Peregrine about all this stuff, and he goes, Here the hammer stroke will fall the hardest. For that reason Mithrandir came hither in such haste. And at that moment, as they're looking up, Peregrine hears the cry of a Nazgul, high and far up in the heavens. So Pippin's wandering in the city by himself at this point because Beargrond had to go do his actual watch. Here's some kids confronting Peregrine. I'm 10 years old already. I'm taller than you. Pippin says I'm nearly 29, so I passed you there. I am but 4 feet and not likely to grow any more, save sideways. Oh, this is Burgle, son of Beregond. Okay, so it's his son. Old Forlong the Fat, the Lord of Losnark, is arriving. 200 men. The people are muttering that they had expected 10 times the number, and everybody's freaked out about the Black Fleet coming up. I just realized I'm sitting really catty corner to the screen. Sorry. So the companies came. Men of Ringlow Vale, Great Blackroot Vale, 500 bowmen. So this is just a list of all of the allies that are coming to the city to fight. Less than 3,000's full told, unfortunately. Ooh, the end of this chapter, Gandalf says, The darkness has begun, there will be no dawn. Things are about to get wild. Oh man, the next chapter. So we're going to be jumping around quite a bit because the party is separated at this point. So it looks like the next chapter is going to be with Merry and Rohan and Aragorn and Gimli and Legolas and so on and so forth. I can't wait. So yeah, this chapter has a lot of dialogue between Beregond and Pippin, and a lot of descriptions of Pippin wandering in the city, and then a description of all the men who are coming to Minas Tirith. So Not a lot of action in this chapter, excuse me. But nevertheless, important stuff is happening here in terms of moving all the chess pieces into place, but preparing for the battle that comes ahead, because this is where things are getting. It's the hammer's about to fall here, and so Minas Tirith is preparing for war, and they're preparing for what Mordor is bringing against them. So great stuff. Love to hear your thoughts on this chapter. Obviously, we're into a new book now, so we've got a few weeks. I mean, it's been taking me a while to read through these. I mean, there's like 8 to 10 chapters per, and I'm reading one chapter per week. So we're going to be here for a little while going through the Return of the King, at least until the end of the year, at least. Maybe I'll finish this one up over Christmas. We'll see if I can get that done over the Christmas break. But thanks for following along. If you haven't already done so, like, subscribe, hit the bell icon. And as always, if you can support like all of these people, just drop a super thanks on this video or join as a member down there. It's a great way to say thanks for the content that I produce. And I'll hopefully see everybody in the next episode as we continue to read through the Return of the King and get to the Silmarillion, because I kind of feel like that's where the fun begins. And we really get into the stuff that could help us better analyze the Rings of Power and beyond. Until next time, everybody, stay safe. Happy reading.